welcome to Star Trek Lost Stars. My name's Tony Morrow, and can you feel that? We've crossed a threshold, as they would say in Loki. We've crossed the Rubicon when it comes to the game, and things have changed. Before I get into that, let me just welcome you again to the show. Today, our live stream on Saturday, 2:30 on the 17th of July. This is Star Trek Lost Stars, a turn-based strategy game which we are bringing you along, set in the Starfleet universe, where we are exploring new space, expanding our borders, exploiting our resources, and exterminating the enemies to the Klingon Empire, which is the faction in which we are playing in this Star Trek-based war game. Thank you for joining us here today on the live stream, and just to get right into it, like I said, we've crossed the line. What do I mean by that? Well, let me take you to the, as my brain slowly tries to work, let me take you to the map, and we can talk about it from here. So here we have the map. This map that you are seeing is turn 81. And if you recall, when you were joining us before, we were kind of going in bursts. We were going at 10 turns at a time, then 5 turns at a time, and now we've crossed a threshold in the game. We're settling into a new tempo when it comes to the turns, and basically we're going 1 turn at a time. This is sort of the normal tempo of the game. Again, it's turn-based. And the reason why that is because... well, let me show you instead of telling you. So you can see here along the border with the Paravians, again, our bird-like neighbors, we're touching. Now, you know, you could say, oh, but Tony, you were touching down here over with the feds. Why is it all of a sudden changed? Well, as the game master is sort of controlling our tempo as we're moving forward here, we've reached a point where enough people, enough different factions, enough different players are touching each other border-wise, are close to touching each other border-wise, that there's enough sort of variability and chance for there to be some explosive activity, shall we say. Basically, people are going to start fights. And so in order to sort of avoid that, we've reached the point where we're now going turn by turn. So let's just take a quick look at the map on the big scale and see where we're at. So you can see here, again, this is turn 81. You can see here that the big red, as they call them, the Tholians, they're continuing to expand, and I think they're doing probably one of the best jobs at expansion overall in the game as far as just overall growth. Their border growth is pretty healthy and good. You can see that obviously we have the shared wormhole here that you can see there, and they're getting close to the border which we share, or that we've determined with the Tholians. We're getting close to that border. They're getting close to it anyway, and that's where we're at there. As I mentioned before, we've got the Paravians where we are now touching with them, and they're getting really close to, like within a couple hexes of being able to reach out and touch the Federation. As you can see, the Federation is continuing to expand sort of down in their southeastern corner here. They got this weird sort of chevron, almost pattern. And let me just switch sides so you can take a look at the Batman faction, the Battletech faction, the black and yellow. So these guys are kind of on their own. Now, one thing about them, they've got you can see a gravity well here that is an outie, not an innie, so to speak. Not exactly sure where that gravity well, where its sort of in point is. But they are within like let's say about 3 hexes here on the border with the Paravians. So they're getting close too. So we've reached a point where everyone's within, if they're not already in contact with each other, they're within a couple hexes of touching. So now that means we're at the point now where we are sort of reverting back to or getting into the tempo of the normal game. So let me switch sides here. Again, this is turn 81. So as had been mentioned before, I believe we talked about this little pop-up here. So this is a minor planet that was that popped up in the corner. We had an exploration freighter that had gone up to check it out. This faction, blew it up. So you can see here, you can see that there's a blue planet, which it means it's neutral in the sense that it's not owned by any of the major factions, and its happiness rating is H-, which is hostile. So they don't like us in a big bad way. And that's determined when you discover on the table, when you roll up and discover these planets. There is an initial roll that's done to see like what their attitude is to you. Do they like you? Are they friendly? Are they hostile? Are they aggressive? And in this case, obviously, it was hostile and aggressive. So they popped it. They blew it out of the water. And so now the question is, how are we going to respond? So that's one big thing that's occurred. You can see also that down here in the corner, that's where we're touching the Paravians, right next to my head here. You can see that we've again, right up to the border, we've got one of our dreadnoughts, which has almost as good as an exploration cruiser chance to be able to explore this space. And so it's conducting exploration with a small escort of 3 destroyers, or F4s. And then, of course, we've got our tug building bases in a direct line there. And of course, we'll build up the base structure there as well. While that's going on, the exploration freighter, which is the same kind that got destroyed up in the corner, this is continuing to explore down this way. And then we have the exploration cruiser down here, which has made it to its destination, which was November 23. And is going to continue to explore, but right now it's at the edge of its supply, and it'll have to go from there. Generally speaking, you can see that while we have a very blob or uniform degree of exploration, we've sort of branched out into these critical spokes, we'll call them. So you can see here that we're reaching out to really make contact with this border area. We're going to be building a base, most likely right here in F11, just like we built one here in F19, and that we'll be building one here in November 23. And the idea there is that it creates, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It creates a reach that we can reach the entire distance between those bases. They're critical keystones, and the rest of the bases that will go in will fill the gap. But effectively what we're doing is we're creating the ability to explore and have supply along the border. Make sense? And of course, we've got to build out a critical infrastructure of bases along those borders to be able to effectively defend the border should bad things happen. And again, it's a war game, so bad things are going to happen. Right, and down here in the sort of the border area with the feds, you can see that the feds are, doing what they should be doing. They're exploring the border along the border with us. We're nearly at a point where we're going to be able to get into November 29, which is critical because we want to be able to build a base there. And again, they're continuing their exploration right up to the edge of the universe or the galaxy here. And, oh, I see. And they are continuing to explore along this route. So I think I just realized something. Oh, I'm wrong. Okay, so quick little thing here. You can see how, for example, when I look at these different, so what I did right there is I took away all the bases and ships. So now all we're seeing are the resources and the planets and so on. So one of the things we're looking at the geography, the topography. And so you can see here that they've got a gravity well. One's an in, 2 are outies. You can see in the gravity well right on the corner there is a letter. So P, Papa, G, Golf, N, November. So you've got those letters there, and they correspond to the that's how we're determining, or how we can tell what's tied to what. So for example, if I go over here and I can see this is an outie, like an out gravity well. It has Z, or Zulu. So the question is, where is the Zulu? So we can tell that Big Red, he's got his India wormhole, which we know where that comes out. That comes out here. We've got our Foxtrot wormhole, where we know that comes out down here. We've got our Victor gravity well. We know that comes out down here. And then for the Paravians, they've got their Papa gravity well, which we know comes out here. So what we've been able to see at this point is that there is an outie Gulf gravity well. We don't know where the in point is for that. And there is a November gravity well, and we don't see an out for that yet. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so let's just do a quick sort of rationale about where we're at here on the map. So I've got turn 82, and I just received that this morning. So I'm going to show you turn 82. But before I do, a couple little notes. You'll notice here that we've got a dreadnought at the homeworld and the creation of another fleet there as we're building. We've got home fleet up here continuing to guard the wormhole. And then we've got and then we've got the C4, another dreadnought. Here, if you remember in a previous turn, I believe it was 76, there had been a colony ship that had shown up. Colony ship is kind of a unique unit. It's an event, a random event that will occur. And again, there's a table of random events. They will occur with varying degrees of frequency, and when they do occur, certain things will happen. Monsters will show up, and then you'll have to attack and destroy them. Colony ships will show up, for example. So when we think of a colony ship, think of it more like something akin to Space Seed, which was that original Star Trek episode where they introduced Khan, and he had all those not super soldiers, but the enhanced, genetically enhanced individuals from the eugenics war that had gone off into space in their ship, and the Enterprise found them. And so think of this as a slightly more robust version of that. Yes, you got the people, but the big thing about the colony ship, it has all the technology, apparatus, and infrastructure to be able to build out a colony. So practically, how do we use it in the game? In the game, what ends up happening is you can take a colony ship, put it on a resource. So when we look at the map, you can see, for example, all these little hexes here, for example, with the dots. Those are resources. They provide 1 EP each. You can put that colony ship on a resource, and it can turn it into a colony, which would be this sort of half circle here. Now, that doesn't change the EP value. It still only produces 1 EP. However, it increases its probability, its chances. Well, it creates the opportunity for it to grow into bigger planets as the colony grows. And so in this context, what we're doing is the closer you are to the homeworld, the greater the chances of those planets of growing. And so, again, let's just take away the bases and the ships. And you can see within our homeworld, we have these planets here, some of which, by the way, were the result of a colony ship we had discovered very, 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 very early in the game. And you can see here that there is, so there's 1, 2, 3, and 2. And this is also 3 hexes away from the homeworld. So what we're doing under escort of that C4 is they're moving to this resource, and we'll turn that into a colony. And then once that's into a colony, the C4 will move to the homeworld. Why are they moving to the homeworld? Well, let me switch over to 82 and show you why. So this is turn 82. Again, we have Big Red doing their thing. You can see on our side, you've got New Fleet, which has moved over here. You can see that so let me just go back here quickly. You'll notice that the Tholian ship that showed up turned into it came and it was crippled. That is probably one of the things that happens for the Tholians when they go through the wormhole, they have crippled units. We had that at the very beginning as well. So we repaired them, and so now they're repaired. And you can see that they're repaired, and they have a diplomat at our homeworld. You can also see that the C4 is moving slowly towards our resource. And New Fleet has positioned itself on the planet. Now, a couple things about New Fleet. Let's take a quick look. So, Klingon New Fleet, you will see, has a C4B. C4 Bravo. As a reminder, that is the upgraded version of the C4 Dreadnought using MTech. So it still has speed 4, which means normal MTech ships can move 6, a distance of 6 on the map. The C4 can only move 4. However, it's got all the other sort of MTech bells and whistles. So basically what's happened is you've taken the basic chassis of the C4 and you've turned it into, you just upgunned it with better weapons. So now instead of a 6.8, it's a straight 8. And then, of course, we've got a series of MTech ships here. So we've got a total of 12 E4Ms, which provide a not unsubstantial amount of offensive firepower. And the big thing is 1, 2, 3, 4. They are within 4 hexes of the big baddies who blew up our exploration freighter. And so well within reach of that fleet. And of course, that fleet is protecting this planet, because if these guys could reach, which they can, 1, 2, 3, 4, although I don't know if their supply, their equivalent tech supply is at 4. Would they be able to reach there? I'm not sure. But we can see here that this is an ISC fleet. I just know that from the colors. So I can see that the ISC fleet, you can see here that they have a YDK, YDock basically. And they have 1, 2, 3. So they've got these Y planetary ground bases, so Y era planetary ground bases. And normal planetary ground bases, I believe, are 1, 2. So they got 4 of them, total of 12. So they got 4 of them when they group together to make a 4-8. And then they've got 3 of those stacked. So they've got basically a 12, 24. Sorry, 18, 24. No, 12, 24, my mistake. 12, 24, attack and defense factor just on that. And then you add in the YDK, and that's, that's 2040. So you got a 2040 attack and defense factor just off the infrastructure alone. And then you got their ships. Now, their ships aren't fantastic. They've got a YCA, a couple YCLs. Again, they've only got a 4-5 attack. So 4 attack, 7 defense, 4 attack, 5 defense. They got a couple of frigates here, Y-era frigates, 6-9s, and then a couple of W-era frigates as well. So knowing that a YDK has a command factor of 10, they will have a total of 11 ships available in the formation, not including the base. So the base plus these ships. And then of course the ground bases are able to be involved as well, and they offer EW in the same in the attack as well. So what'll end up happening here from a live stream perspective is we'll do a episode, not today, but we will go through in our next live stream. We'll go through the nuts and bolts and the process of combat. This will be a great way to be able to map out how combat works. Show you sort of the tools within Vassal that help us do that. And then, of course, go through the rule set to explain on how certain things interact. Maybe, if I'm fortunate enough, I can get the Game Master to come on live with us at the time, at least via audio, and he can explain and talk about the flow and the thought process. I can do a fairly decent job, but of course he's the Game Master, so maybe he can do a better job than me. We shall see. Worst case scenario, we're going to walk through it in our next live stream. So you can see that there. Also, as we go down here, a couple things to note. Botel 2 had gone up here initially to find the wormhole, if you guys remember. No wormhole. I had talked to the Game Master, and so whereas in the fog of war, sometimes you might have things disappear because you don't have like an ability to maintain sensor trace on it. In this case, there was something there. It's just gone now. And so, oh, interesting. And so it's gone now. So long story short, the wormhole's not there anymore. It disappeared. Maybe just another random event, it disappeared. And so Botel's going to make its way back over to the C4 and the T4 over here and chill out. You can see that from the, as we go down here, you can see the difference between this little cruiser here went from there to here and is continuing to explore. The C4 is continuing to explore territory around there. Down here, you can see that the D4E is continuing to explore along its supply. Same thing with the exploration freighter, and we're going to be building a base here shortly. And you can see here that in Foxtrot 11, the tug, thank you, T4 tug, is now in position, and it's ready to build a base there as well. But enough talking about the map, Tony. Oh, a couple things to note here. Woohoo! I see a red. This looks like Romulan to me. Oh, it's a major planet too. So that's just a little thing about iconography. You can see the big blue. That's a major planet, so big planet. They provide as much as 5 EP when they're all nice and neutral and not angry at you. So that's good. So the Batman faction has discovered this major planet, which ironically is right above another planet they have there. And they've got a Romulan fleet there. Interesting. Let's take a quick look at the Romulan fleet. It could be Riemann, I suppose, but let's just take it home fleet. Romulan home fleet. No, it's Romulan. So they got Kingbird, a Y era Kingbird. That's like a command cruiser for the Y era. A Warbird, which is your classic cruiser, although for the Romulans, their cruisers tend to be weaker. So they're, well, I mean, it's not that much weaker, but it's a 4.5 as opposed to a 4.6. They're Y Hawks, which are like RF4s. They're like destroyers. And so you can see that's at, we got 3.4. And then the YSNs, the snipes, those are like their frigates. So as you can see here, the Klingons, the Romulans, and the Federation, they have sort of different designations for their same size ships. And that just comes from the fact that they're like the core races from the game. And so they had like slightly different naming conventions for some of their ships. But basically frigates, destroyers, cruisers, command cruiser. That's how that breaks down. And you can see here they've got a YBS, not a YDK, and some planetary ground bases. You can see, for example, they've got a 1-2 planetary ground base, which is one of those planetary ground bases, and then a 4-8, which would be 4 of them, obviously. So they got a total of 5 planetary ground bases, or Y-era planetary ground bases. You can see that the Big Red also discovered these guys. This was the same turn we discovered ours, but and almost in the same position from a mirror perspective. They're not as hostile as ours are, so their exploration freighter got away. And what else we got here? Let's do the quick recap. So let's look at EP. The summary of economic points for this turn 82. The Borak are at 50. Wow, that's a pretty big jump for them. The Federation are at 61. Klingons are 53.5. The Paravians are at 49. The Tholians are 48.5. So it looks like 50 is about the average. And the Federation are by far and away the anomaly in the sense that they are heads and shoulders above everybody else statistically. Borak are probably right even there. Of course, the Paravians, the Tholians, and the Borak are all within spitting distance of each other. We're just a hair above that at 53.5. And then, of course, the Feds are substantially ahead of that at 61. So they're doing great, those baby blue bastards. All right, let's take a quick look at fleet cap. So fleet cap, again, is just a kind of a tally of the number of ships and what they can do. The Borak have a total of 57 ships with a total defense factor of 229. So that's interesting. It's 229, but their fleet cap's 228. That would indicate that they are just a hair above their fleet cap, meaning that maybe that's a typo, because it's either one of two things. One, no. Okay, yep. So fleet cap is a determination when you look at your balance sheet. The fleet cap that you can support is different from the fleet cap that you've currently got out there. So right now their fleet cap is a hair below what they're actually showing. So I'm curious what that's all about, but it's only by 1 point, so not really all that significant. The big number here is the 57. Take a quick sip of water. 57 number ships. Federation is up to a total of 77. Peak of punk, the height of disco, the year Star Wars came out. It's a great year. Great number. You can see the Klingons are at a total of 52 ships. We've grown our fleet substantially since turn 76. We're on a fleet building binge now that we're at MTech. And you can see that our total attack and defense factors are comparable. Significantly more attack factors, obviously at 151 to the Borak, who are probably, they're pretty close to us when it comes to total fleet count. But their defense factors are just a little bit above ours, with ours being at 212. You can see the Paravians are at 49, so again, very close to us in the number of ships that we have. They have 122 to 214, so their defense factors are slightly more, their attack factors are slightly less. That may indicate a preference for non-combat ships, like, for example, freighters and things like that. After all, one of our freighters just got popped, so, we lost that ship and its defense factors to go with it. You can see, obviously, the Romulans, we just showed those guys. But the Tholians, big red, woohoo! You got 80 ships. So the Feds and the Tholians are kind of neck and neck for how many ships they can have. Total of 80 ships. They have 104 attack factors. So again, we're maintaining our lead on them when it comes to attack factors. But their defense factors, they're 277, so substantially more than us. And of course, total number of ships is really high. So that's something to be, thinking about and cognizant of as we move forward. Again, maintaining the shipbuilding strategy. With that said, let's go straight to the spreadsheet. Let me switch. There we go. Makes it a little bit easier to see. I will zoom in so you can see a little bit better. As you can see here, we've got turn 81 and turn 82 side by side. So let's go into turn 81 and see what we did. I'll zoom in one more. There we go. So you can see here transfers and adjustments. In turn 81, we received 5 EP from a Tholian commercial convoy. So what that means is that the Tholians have initiated trade with us, and they are sending convoys through the wormhole. That's awesome. So they send a convoy through, and when it arrives on the other side, it provides 5 EP to the receiver, and it costs 2.5 to build. So that's good. One of the things that we need to think about is if we want those convoys to keep coming, we have to reciprocate in some way, shape, or form. So something to think about. And then when the Tholian diplomat arrived, one of the missions they have is sort of like an economic development thing, and they provide a 1 EP bump for every visiting diplomat you have. So it provides a 1 EP bump for us and them. So we got an extra 6 EP last turn. That's a pretty good bump. So you can see here that we did some repairs on our... we had an event that occurred the turn before this where one of our star bases or YBSs got damaged. And there was a question mark I had with regards to whether the repair would be... So, for example, when you repair a ship at YDock, it's at half a point of EP for every damage or every point you're repairing. So, for example, you have a frigate that has a 2-3, 2 attack, 3 defense. When it gets crippled, it turns into a straight 2. 2 attack, 2 defense. So in order to repair that 1 point of defense, which is what you're repairing, you would spend half an EP, half an economic point for 1 point of damage. Now, when you're repairing things like bases, usually it can be 1-to-1. However, that's usually, for example, if you're taking a ship or a tug and you're repairing a base, but sorry, I'm just catching some chat here on Twitch. Athos, who you remember is our Paravian in-house, says, "I wonder what lies you've spread about us this time." No lies, just the truth, just the facts, man, as Wednesday would say. So yes, back to this. So I don't know whether it was 2-to-1 or 1-to-1 when it came to, 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 when it came to the 1-to-2, I should say, when it came to the economic points of repair made. So I'd asked a question after I'd submitted the turn, and basically 1 SID for YBS is 4 points of damage. So I only allocated 2 points. So it meant half a SID basically was repaired. So 2 points of damage. So I'll have to wait until next turn or this coming turn to repair the other 2 points of damage to make a full SID repair, if that makes any sense. All right, what else did we build? So we build a commercial convoy that we sent back to the Tholians. So they sent one to us. We're going to send one back. That cost us 2.5 EP to build. And then, of course, we built another group, or 3 ships of the E4Ms that we talked about. So we're on this shipbuilding strategy. What else did we do? Well, we upgraded our C4 to a C4B. We can look at this at the MSIT in here in a second, but basically that costs 3 EP to upgrade. It's a kind of, because it's 3 EP, that level of upgrade can only occur at the shipyards at the homeworld. So something to think about for the other dreadnoughts that we want to upgrade. We're going to bring them back to the homeworld in order to upgrade them that way. Also, we also had a base construction in Tango 12, which will be completed in 2 turns. So quick recap, or visiting back to our map. Let me switch sides again. You can see here, we talked about Tango 12. So this right here, Tango 12, is where this base is being built. And then so we're building that there. Next one on the docket, we have a base to build here. We also have a base to build here. And we'll have to get some tugs down here to build some bases in November 23. As well as wanting to build a base here. Once these guys are done building their base, they will strategically move over here because the E1T, or like the sort of mini tug, is there, and it can provide that supply point in order to move the base over. Why do we want to do that? Because we want to help maintain not only defending the planet, but now that the planet is at a happy plus, we want to maintain that. Incidentally, one of the things to note about a happy plus planet is that it provides extra EP. One quick sec as I pull that up, and I will show you in the in our sort of early years campaign rule set here. Okay, so we'll go to economics. Here we are. So you can see that I believe, quick look at the map again. It is a minor planet, which of course you can just barely see over my head. And so as a minor planet, you can see here, if the attitude is helpful, or H+, then, so I is indifferent, unfriendly is U, hostile is H-, friendly is H, helpful is H+, as displayed on the map. So you can see here, as helpful, it's a +5 EP bonus. Fait du sens? Excellent. All right. So back to the spreadsheet. Let's just go down here. You can see a couple another little cute things to see. Cute, interesting term to use. TGBs are available. TGBs, that's basically our battle tugs. Battle tugs, I mean, nothing so much battle about them other than they are tugs in the M era. And they're a little bit more robust than perhaps Federation tugs. I'll show you that in a second. And then you can see that coming up on the docket for things that are going to be built, you can see the D6, which again is our cruiser. You can see there's a ground assault version or commando cruiser version that's coming. The J, which is the penal ship that is coming. And then troop pods. And then, of course, you can see the E, which is the exploration version of the D6. N is the diplomatic. And then, of course, the E4G is a commando version of our destroyer. Sorry, not of the destroyer, of the escort. Excuse me. And then the G2. G2. I don't know what G2 is. Let's find out. Excuse me. All right, so let's go down to the bottom here. You can see, I will zoom in. As we zoom to the bottom, we will see that the TGM, or sorry, the TGB, is a tug. It has a 4 attack and 8 defense. That is important because those tugs are a little bit more hefty than other tugs in their ability to shoot back, right? So a 4 attack is nothing to sneeze at, relatively speaking, and it's got an 8 defense factor. One of the things to think about is that if you include battle pods, which we don't get for a while, but battle pods are one of the things you can attach onto a tug. If you put battle pods on a vessel, they add 2 attack factors and 2 command factors. The tug's starting command factor is at 6. So if you add 2 battle pods, that's adding 4, meaning that it goes up to a 10 command rating, equivalent to a dreadnought, or a battleship. And it also adds 4 if you add 2 of those pods, adds 4 to the attack factor. So a straight 8 ship, 8 attack, 8 defense, with a 10 command factor, not insignificant. And why would you add 2? Because this particular tug, you can see it there right above my head, this tug can carry 2 pods. So that makes an interesting little thing to think about. You can see the G2. I didn't know what a G2 was. You can see here it's the police variant of the E3. So basically it's a cheapo version of the E3. It has attack factors, no defense factors. Again, E4s, as we've got them here. We talked about the G4M. The G4 is the basically the commando variant of a police ship. Again, no defense factor, no cripple. Sorry, not defense factor. It has no cripple value, meaning that once you pop it, and there's no crippling it, and so on and so forth. Athos says, took the Borak miner without a shot being fired, he says. Oh yeah, that was when I was looking at the map there. As we go back down here, the Borak. So this is interesting. So the Borak planet is still neutral on my map, unfriendly, meaning they don't like the Paravians. They still have a fleet, or here's the Borak fleet. What's the name of that fleet? Satrapi? Okay, what does that mean? Pit fleets? No. Borak, what do we got here? Takesis, Second Fleet, Patrol. I don't know. Is there anything in the minor fleets? Oh, yeah, here we go. So they got a YCA, a YCL, a YDD, and a total of 6 frigates. Not insignificant. And they got a YDK, and they've got that. So, I mean, it's not insignificant, and it's showing as neutral. Interesting. I wonder... Athos, if you're still online, let me know what that's all about, because I'm curious why it's still neutral. It's still showing as Borak. Obviously, there's no border around it right now. Curious what that's all about. And your fleet, let's take a look at your fleet. You got the home fleet there, the Paravian home fleet. You got 3 DDs and a commando light cruiser. And another DD there. So you've got 4 DDs. So you don't have enough to take it, certainly. At least not this turn, it would seem. Interesting. In short, they are my vassal. Oh, interesting. Okay, so vassal. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. I wonder if was that a role-playing thing? So this is an example of how role-playing can play out in the campaign. Obviously, this is a war game, but we do a role-playing aspect. So, so he says, I showed him what happened to the Remans, meaning that was another sort of minor species that you took out, that Athos took out. And so it would be interesting to see how that role-playing went. So role-playing, basically, you bullied them into submission. Interdasting. Okay. So just a quick show here. We built the Y convoy. So why is the Y convoy not built at the Y dock? because I should be able to build. So, for example, in the notes for the for this turn, I said specifically that the CC, the commercial convoy, would be put together at the Y dock. And it's not at the Y dock. It came from the homeworld. I think that might be a slip up from the GM. I will have to just confirm with him. See, I put in there Papa 11, which is the hex for the YDK. And then I put that I was building that there. So I don't know. I'll have to talk to him and figure that out. Figure that piece out. So anywho, we've got the repair of the Tholian ship, so they're good to go. Not too worried about that. That's a very like a 1.5 attack factor. Not worried about that causing any significant damage anywhere. We've got a patrol fleet at the homeworld that would decimate that if they tried to attack us, so not too much to worry about. I get a supply. Sorry, Athos is saying I get a supply, a percentage of their income, and they keep their fleets intact. Interesting. So it's an interesting way to get around the. There's now apparently 3, but there were 2 ways to be able to take on a minor world. You can either attack them and decimate their world and sort of like conquer them, or you can diplomatically bring them in. If you diplomatically bring them in, then they give up their fleets and all that other stuff, but they don't suffer any economic impact. So like you didn't decimate their world. If you attack them and conquer them, you decimate their world, like what's happening here, for example, with this planet here. So what happens is they are devastated for a certain number of turns, a handful of turns, I think it's 3. And then they go into this sort of rebuilding phase. And it takes them about 10 turns to rebuild. And once they've totally rebuilt, then they're fully economically up and running. In the meantime, if they're anything but a major planet, they're producing 1 EP into your economy. So if Mike has figured out a way, or Athos here has figured out a way to diplomatically vassal them, and then he gets a percentage of their income, well, he might be getting better than 1 EP, which arguably is a more effective way to do that. And maybe he can work the diplomatic angle at the same time. We shall see. Interesting. What else we got here? We can see that we have our cruiser with our R&D team heading through the wormhole to the Tholians. As we're going to do they sent us a diplomat. We're going to send them an R&D team, and then we'll do an exchange that way. Previously, there had been chit-chat in the last live stream about Athos sending his R&D team to us, and then going through the wormhole, basically go through the gravity well out this end, up to our wormhole, come through that end, and then come to the homeworld and then do R&D with us. And then we would send an R&D team back to him. Still can do that. It's just going to wait to see him send his R&D team to us. Now that we've secured this sort of artery between our worlds, I can strat move guys to him probably a lot faster than otherwise. And certainly once the wormhole and there's connectivity here, we can strat move them that way as well. Just have to do a quick little calculation once all the bases are in place to see which one is the faster way to get folks to his homeworld, but one way or the other, we'll get them there. All right, so basically what we've got here is, as you saw, we've got an ongoing campaign to take out the minor planet in the top corner that popped our exploration freighter. We've got continued exploration going on, and so far. One of the other milestones about this turn is that now we're doing sort of a detailed turn-by-turn. So, for example, in the past, we gave what we call intent. So on the movement tabs here that you can see, there's this little tab where I would write in sort of my general direction on what I wanted to do. And the reason why it's written in that way is because there was a lot of ambiguity around what could happen in 10 turns, 5 turns, however many turns we were going at a time. Now, because we're going 1 turn at a time, I'm going to revert back to the other way that everyone has a slightly different way of doing it, but I do turns this way. So what I'll end up doing is I will, you can see here, for example, in the turn 81 series here, you've got the ships identified in one column. You've got where they started their turn in one column and where they finished their turn in one column. So when I do that, I basically copy this column, put it here in the start column, and then I indicate cell by cell where all these different folks are going to go. And then as I build new ships, I populate them into the... What is going on there? I populate them into the ship list here, and then I can just populate those ships there and then go from there. You can see here, for example, he's identified home and new fleet there, and then the sort of the ship distribution and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's I won't bore you with all the nuance around that, but let's just do a quick little number crunch when it comes to the budget. So when it comes to the budget, as you can see here, we're going to finish the repairs on the SIDS. That was based on a conversation I'd had with the GM, so he was kind enough to populate that in there. We want to keep building. We want to keep building YBSs, but we do not need the construction. There we go. But we do not need the construction of the C4B, because if we go to the map, or we don't need the conversion of the C4B, because if we go to the map, you can see that there's nothing there. We don't have another dreadnought standing by. This one will slowly, after the colony ship makes its way to this resource, once it's there, it will finish converting that into a colony, and then the C4B, or sorry, the C4 will make its way to the homeworld where it can be converted. Fid sens? Oui. All right. So now we got to keep building. We got to keep building our fleet out, as we talked about before. But as you can see here already, just at the start of our turn, we've got we're building a base now. Let's just quickly look at where are we going to build the base? Do we think in Foxtrot 11? So if we build the base here, it doesn't build any capability for us. It's just kind of filling the gap as we should, right? Now that's an important place to build, and we should build that shortly. But this base here provides range and supply to explore at least a couple more hexes in this area before there's any issues. So no harm, no foul there as far as them continuing their exploration. As far as here, this is very much at the edge of the supply range. So once we have a base here, we can explore again all the way down here, whoops, and all the way up here. So a base being built here is of significant value. So let's build in Foxtrot 11, shall we? So let's just do a little edit. Foxtrot 11, and we're good to go. Again, no C4B required, so we're just going to take that out. But we're still at almost 6 EP deficit, which means we can't really build much this turn. Frustrating, I know. So just as a quick aside here, let's do a quick look here. The E4M costs 2.5 to build, right? E4M, which is the ship that we've been building most frequently. So if we were to build 2 of those, that's 5 EP, that already pop us over 10, and we can't go past -10. But we could go to 2.5, which takes us to 8.4. So that'll build 1 E4M, right? Not a big deal. New note. E4M equals 2.5 EP. All right. So we'll build one of those bad boys, and then we'll build our base, and we'll continue on. I'll do the rest of the movement stuff after, but just to be able to share with you kind of our intent here. As you can see here, we're going to be building our base in Foxtrot 11. We're going to send New Fleet to be able to pop these guys. Oh, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for walking me through that. So here's a quick little reminder. When you attack, so we did this before. When you attack a minor faction, you can't go to war, but you can go to limited war. And that's what we can do next turn because we've got our ships in place and we're going to go to limited war. Bang. Thank you. Thank you for that. So now we can actually build 7. Bang. So what this does, this allows us to build the full docket of ships that we want to build. So hold on, let's see here. So we can build up to 5 of these ships. So 5 would put us to 7.5. We can go up to 12.5. And that would build us, yeah. So if we build 5 of these things, okay, so let's just do a quick thing here. So 5 times E4M equals 12.5. How do you get that, Tony? Well, you take 2.5, you times it by 5. It's 12.5. So why are we building 5 E4Ms? 1, the E4M right now is what we refer to as our chaff, meaning that it is cheap to build at only 2.5 to build, 2.5 EP to build. It provides 4 attack and 3 defense, which means for the dollar, the bang for buck ratio, if you want to call it, is disproportionately in favor of the E4M. 4 attack, 3 defense for 2.5 EP. You're getting, for the amount of money you're spending, you're getting a lot of attack and defense factors. When compared to, and this is what frustrates me, when you compare it to the D6 is a straight 7, and it costs 7.5 to build, meaning I'm paying more than a 1-to-1 ratio of EPs to attack factors. Does that make sense? I'm paying more EPs to get, I'm paying more than 1 EP to get 1 attack factor. And it's the reverse with the E4M. With the E4M, I'm getting 4 attack factors and 3 defense factors. So you could average that out as a 3.5. I'm only spending 2.5. So I'm getting almost 30%. Actually, what am I saying? I'm getting 50% more value out of the money I'm spending for that. Seems like or pretty close, 75, 80%. It's pretty close value in that regard. So that's a no-brainer. Also, because, again, going back to our slipways, this is the investment that we made early on. Because we have 2 of those F slipways and 3 of the E slipways, you can down build 2 slipways at a time. Those 2 F slipways can build E4Ms in any one turn. So we'll build a total of 5 of those, cost us 12.5, and bang. That's awesome. So what are we going to do with those? When you first build a ship, it comes with a free strat movement. Strat movement, just as a quick reference, we can talk about when different phases of movement occur. We'll go through that in combat just in next week's episode. It'll make more sense that way. But what happens is they can move more than necessarily their maximum movement range. So operational movement for M-era ships is 6, which means they can move 6 hexes. Strat move can be further. So if we go quick to our tech tree, strategic movement is our column right here that you can see. I'll switch over so my head's not in the way. And as we go down, you can see that our distance is speed times 2. So they can move a total of 12 hexes, as long as you have a supply point at the very end. So when we go here, we can build those ships out of here, and they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they could move operationally there. They could strat move further if they wanted. I don't have a end destination point here that they can get to. So let's say, for example, New Fleet has a fight with these guys and cripples as many as 5 ships. Those crippled ships will be able to retrograde to the supply point, which is the planet, and I will have built 5 other ships to replace them. Make sense? So what we'll do is we'll end up having 1 round of a fight where we'll have a certain amount of crippled ships, and then we'll retreat, and then those crippled ships will kind of back away to get repaired, and we'll have a total of 5 more ships backfilling their position to provide more firepower to replace them. And like I say, well, I'll get into the details of the combat so we can do the calculation and figure out like why is it worth it or what the result was. And so I can walk you through that, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, we're going to build those ships, and they will move up there, going back to our spreadsheet. So we're building those ships, we're finishing our repairs, and we're building a base. Those are big things that we're going to do. I anticipate that we won't be able to finish that fight with the other guys because of the number of planetary ground bases and the Y-dock that they have. We're not going to be able to finish that fight in one round. We might take as many as 2 or 3, depending on how the rolls go our way, because when you go into combat, it's like, think of any role-playing game, you're going to roll them dice, and away you go. Athos has a comment here. Okay, couple things. One, he says, you can go past -10, Tony, as far as the economy. And he continues to explain this. Just one sec. It's a 20% deficit. Based on your base income, if you are over 50, you can go deeper. So that's what he's talking about. If you're over 50% income, you can go a little bit deeper. So in my case, it'd be like a fraction. What is it? 10.7. He says, my deficit limit is 10.7. I'm not interested in going below -10. I think that's a good kind of ballpark threshold to go to gauge, because you have to pay back that deficit at some point. Like you're paying interest, you're paying on that expense. So we'll see how that goes. Limited war also though does allow for full expenditures if you were at war. So when you're at war, for example, you can go into deficit spending equal to your economy or your GDP, and so limited war allows you to go that far. But so I was talking about the E4s and how valuable they are. E4s evaporate fast in a fleet battle, he says. Yeah, so a couple things here. So one, he says E4s evaporate in fleet battle. And he's so right, because when we talk about chaff, we're talking about the ships that are easy to repair. So they're cost efficient to repair, and they bring a lot of more bang to buck. But the thing is, because they don't have, especially E4Ms, because they don't have a lot of defense factor relative to their attack factor, they can't take a lot of damage. So in your first round, you bring a lot of bang to the, like you bring a lot of initial attack factors to the fight, but then they quickly whittle down, meaning they don't have staying power. They have if you can win a fight in the first couple rounds, great. But if you can't, then you're going to lose the long haul battle. Again, we'll get into sort of the way combat revolves. But if you think about it like a slugfest in a boxing round or a boxing fight or UFC fight, it's like in your first round, you blow your load trying to knock out your opponent, and then you're exhausted afterwards, and you cannot, like, there are lots of fighters and fights examples where the fighter gets knocked out because they're so exhausted, or they lose the fight because they did well in the first round but they couldn't last to the end, the championship rounds of 4 and 5 in the UFC, or they couldn't go the distance with 10 rounds in boxing, and so on and so forth. He also says, for example, so limited war, I was talking about limited war allows you to go into deficit. It also lets you bank EP. So for example, you can't bank EP while at peace, meaning you cannot roll over money to the next round. But in wartime, you can. Now, ironically, at war, most people don't. They end up spending most of their money. But there are ways and reasons why you need to bank money. For example, if you need to bank money to do specific upgrades, like you don't have the ability to expend, or for example, if you have something that costs you 30 EP to buy or build, but you don't generate 30 EP in a turn, then you have to either go into deficit spending to cover that cost, or if you're at war, you can save up the money over a series of turns. In the past couple of games that we've played this, I have rarely ever seen anybody be able to bank anything, because most folks just like spend everything they can to put as much on the front line as possible. But that's a strategy thing that we can talk about in a future live stream. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. So we've got the 2 EP to repair the SIDS. The damage basically on that YBS. We've got the 5 E4s that we're building. and we've got the base building that we are doing. I'll save you the other construction pieces, but as we know, it will be most likely that we'll have limited war next turn and the turn after, so there'll be some sort of carryover here, and we'll see what our economy, how our economy adjusts, and what other kind of stuff that we can explore, or what other resources are uncovered in our exploration. We know that the C4 is continuing to explore. The D4E is continuing to. We have the D4 Echo here, as well as the exploration freighter here, and we have an exploration down south. We are down one exploration freighter because of these wonderful interstellar Concordian folks up here that popped one of our convoys. So we should probably build one of those and send them out for exploration shortly. Yeah, that's basically where we're at. We won't do the exploration freighter this turn because, again, we want to be able to backfill the... we want to make sure we have enough, basically, ships on station up with this fight with the ISC to make sure that it's a non-issue. But like I said, we're not going to be able to take them out this turn anyway. It'll be a couple turn affair, but nonetheless, we'll try and get her done. And that's pretty much it. If you have any other comments or questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. And again, if you are liking what we're seeing here and you're not finding it completely a snooze fest, then please head over to patreon.com/LostStars and check us out there. You can, if you're watching us on YouTube or on Twitch, head on over to the Patreon and you can join the fleet. Whether you're joining us at the lowest level as a warrior, basically buying us a coffee a month to to keep this game alive, or other ways that you want to be able to, or other levels that you want to be able to support us, and you can participate in the Klingon Empire. Do you want to be in control of a ship, a small task group of up to 3 ships, a fleet of up to 10, or take control of an entire province? I see one particular province taking shape in the southern area of our empire, right on the border between the Paravians and the Federation. Do you want to take control of that province? If you do, head over to patreon.com/LostStars and check it out. Are you going to be the kind of person who stirs the pot? Are you going to poke the bear? What are you going to do? Are you going to try and be diplomatic and get along with everybody, kumbaya style? Or are you going to be a true Klingon and pick up that dagger and jump the fence? Totally up to you. But if you join our Patreon at any level, then you'll also join us on our Discord, be able to participate in our top secret strategy sessions where we're going to talk about the intent, the direction, and the actual tactical employment of our ships, what we're going to do. And if you're in command, control of one of those ships, those fleets, or those provinces, then your input is going to be critical and important on how and what we decide to do. It's going to be exciting. Like I said, we are now in a new phase of the game. We are now turn to turn. We're trying to get those turns out as fast as possible, but we are turn to turn dependent, which means that you're gonna have that tangible fidelity, granular control over your units to be able to say, I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to go wherever you want to go. And we are going to talk about what's best for our team to be able to, in the end, win this strategy game. But if you're joining us over at YouTube, then feel free to hit that thumbs up. If you're enjoying this, again, if you're not asleep by now and you're still with us, then fantastic. If you care for it, please hit the subscribe button, and then you can follow us along as these live streams come out and other videos that are coming. As well, if you're on Twitch, then please hit the follow button, and you can follow along on this journey as we are slowly unveiling the map and building the empire. Again, my name is Tony. It has been a pleasure to walk you through this today. Our next session will be talking about combat, and by next week we'll probably have at least one episode talking about the next turn that's coming up, because these turns are happening fast and furious, and we're trying to get them processed as quickly as we can. So I expect by the end of the weekend we'll have at least turn 83 in hand, maybe, knock on wood. And you'll get to hear all the latest and greatest news as it comes out. So thank you for joining us, and I will see you in the next episode.